How to be engaging quickly. I use the picture of myself for one reason. There's very little to do with anything we're going to talk about today. That is the proper way to hold a mic.
Thank you.
If you are holding a mic to talk to people,
debatable.
It should be right here.
Oh, yes. But you never want to put your hand on the top part.
No. You hold it right. That is the proper way to hold it. It could even go up a little and to the receiver. It depends on the mic itself. That's a digital mic, so it tends to be fine. But if it's an RF mic, you don't want to even hold it there. You want to hold it higher. But right here, where you want to put it. Has nothing to do with the day. But we're going to work through this, just kind of what does it mean? What are the best practices for how to be an MC, be a person that transitions, works in the in-between of the major points of a gathering. How to be engaging with those people in a very quick, short of time. Okay? Before we get the starting points, I'm going to give you guys where we're going to kind of go. This is the basic flow of the next, call it 45 minutes to an hour. We're going to talk about what happens before you ever get on the stage. What are the different types of content you need to be presenting? How do we appropriately run transitions? How do we appropriately work through transitions? What does that look like? How do we keep people's attention in a very short frame of time? And then how do we go about getting people to take action in the process? Because we have this wonderful job of being responsible for a lot of the activity people do and the response people have during a gathering while having a very short amount of time to get it done. So how do we go about doing that? So we're gonna start. Sound good? If at any point, holler at me. If you got any questions, you want to say something, let me know. We can keep going. All right, so the first piece is, why does being a great MC matter? I love thinking of an MC as a vibe shepherd. The role of an MC is to set, maintain, and or build the vibe, the mood, the energy of the service through its most uncertain moments. We'll get to why it's uncertain in a second. Most people in communal events are concerned about being noticed as an individual MC's job is to keep the community as a whole moving together. So this is why I say most people are concerned about being noticed as individuals in the environment. When's the last time you actually went to a church that wasn't your own? Just to go with your kids. When's the last time you went to a church that wasn't your own, just with your kids? The amount of uncertainty in that, I do it a lot now. The amount of uncertainty that you experience in that moment is incredibly high. Because think about this, man. You're walking to an environment to where you cannot presume you understand anything. You've got to get your kids to go somewhere. You've got to figure out, how loud do they sing there? When do we stand? When do we sit? What does this moment look like? And so you are automatically just natural being a human being, because we desire to be connected to those around us, feeling very anxious. I recently went to Passion City Church because a friend of mine invited. First time I've been there. He was not there. Bunch of reasons. But the entire time I'm trying to figure out, I'm like, okay, I'm looking around. Where my kids got to go? Okay, got to take them there. How does the seating work here? Do we just go into that room and figure it out? Are there people there to help me? What is it? Are we sitting now? No, we're not standing. And it's this incredible moment of like, I don't know what's happening. I know everybody else does, but I don't know what's happening. And it's the job of that person, the person in that role, to help everyone move as a unit between the most uncertain moments. And this is why I call them most uncertain moments. Everybody kind of gets in worship, you're going to sing, even if they don't want to, right? That's kind of what we do now. We're singing now, right? Everybody kind of gets that when the preaching's happening, I'm supposed to listen. Maybe I do, maybe I don't, but that's what's supposed to happen, right? Everybody kind of gets those big chunks. What do you do elsewhere? Because it's those places that you have the easiest space to be tripped up, okay? So our responsibility is to help the community move as a whole and to reduce as much uncertainty as possible for everyone in the room. Sound good? With me?
Yep.
All right. So let's talk about before you ever get on the stage. The number one thing I can tell you is that people experience what you feel. This is just a natural just part of being a social animal. I think it's very spiritual in that we are actually connected to God's people, even if we're meeting them for the first time. We experience the emotion of the person leading the room. Whether we accept it or not, we might reject their emotions, but that is our experience. So, as an example, you've all been there, you've done this, whatever. You walk into a room, you've seen someone preach, however the thing is, and that person is nervous. Do you feel nervous for them? We all do. We're like, oh, they're nervous. Oh man. And so now what they've done unknowingly, hey Lise, welcome.
Sorry.
You're good. What we've done, one could even say selfishly, is now placed our nervousness on someone else. If you have the role of standing in front of people and you're visibly, auditorily nervous, that is going to make them feel nervous for you. If you're anxious, on the flip side, let's go positive. If you're excited to be there, they're naturally, oh man, they're pumped to be here. This is probably going to date me. Anybody remember a guy named Steve Ballmer? Just me and Blake? Great. Steve Ballmer was the guy that, this is such a bad example coming on the spot. It just dates myself. Steve Ballmer was the guy that took over Microsoft after Bill Gates.
Yep.
He took over Microsoft after Bill Gates because he was economically wise, so he understood the product. But secondarily, he just was full of energy. There's this video, and I highly encourage you to look it up. Of him, he's not a thin man. He's fairly large and he sweats easily. But he's at his first developer conference as being the CEO now of Microsoft. And for 5 minutes, he marches back and forth on the stage yelling the word developers. And his energy makes everyone give a standing ovation and starts chanting the same thing, to the point that he becomes emotional and gets a little bit weepy. He starts choking up emotionally. His energy, his emotions was what people experienced. So, that being said, we have to do a lot of work on the front side of managing, and I hate to say this, sometimes it is the answer, faking your emotion when you get up there. I'll say this, man, every time I get on stage to talk, no matter what it is, I am anxious right before every single time. Every single time, without fail. Call it stage anxiety, call it whatever you want to call it. I feel that I don't want to screw up. What I've learned to do is I have a let's call it a prayer that I walk through, but just the recognition of this is my job. My prayer particularly is, Lord, think of my mind, love of my heart, speak with my mouth, do with my hands. Whatever I have here today, I want to give to those who are in front of me. Let you be glorified. And just kind of walk out there, right? And the anxiousness tends to go away. When I have been anxious, if you are, and here's the reason I say this, if you are there and you're feeling anxious, you have to, and you can't overcome that in the moment, you've either got to figure out a way to fake it, or you've got to figure out a way to get rid of it. I don't know which one it is, but everything you feel, it's impossible unless you're just faking it. But if you're just natural with your emotions and they are negative emotions, people will experience that as what they're doing. And I know none of us actually want that, but that's just kind of how it works because we are social beings. God created us that way. So that's point number one. Point number two, the gift of that is that we get to decide before we ever get on the stage what emotions and actions people will take that day or will offer to people. They get to make the choice whether they want to do that or not. Like everybody's an individual. That's great. You decide what you want to do. My decision is what we're going to experience and do as a community. You can decide whether you want to take part or not. That's the gift of that. So if the day, you want the day to be, let's say it exciting, right? You decide, okay, cool. We want the day to be exciting. What do I need to do to convey and feel excitement so that they experience that? We're going to look at some examples in a minute, but that's something that we get to choose. It's not imposed on us, right? Now, There might be circumstances. Something happened in the parking lot and you can't get over it. I totally get that. Things happen, right? As a general rule, we get to decide the actions that people take and the emotions that people feel in that space. And so what are those? Making that decision before you ever get on the stage is one of the most important things you can do, or else you'll just go with how you feel. And then it's just kind of up and down and uncertain, and not the best experience for anybody. So before you ever get there, just decide. This is what I want people to feel today. This is what I want people to experience today. This is the actions I want them to take. And just kind of go with that. Let's go with content. There are two types of content. And each of those types of content have different things you need to say. First, content. I put them in basically two buckets: motivation and information. Motivation. I want you to do something. Second one, I want you to know something. Okay, so here's how this works. If you ever get up there, and again, most of the time it's want to do, let's just be clear, but there are days when it's just like, I don't really care if you do anything, I just need you to know this. Like that happens, right? As i.e., we have new service times. I need you to know this. If you show up late, that's kind of on you. Like, I just need to make sure you hear this, right? If you want people to do something, which is most of the stuff, you can't just tell people what it is, because you have to come with the assumption they don't care. It is really, really self-centered of us to come up with something, think it's amazing, and have the assumption that other people care. Now, we can help them care, but they're just not naturally going to. They haven't been in any of the rooms where the decision's been made. They haven't been in any of the conversations ever. We're just showing up. Guys, we've got a back-to-school bash. We would love for you to donate. Why is that important? What is, I mean, cool, great. What does it matter? Why does it matter to me? Why are we doing this? Which school is it? What do you need me to donate? Do the kids actually need those things? Have we talked to the principal? Like that kind, like all of these things matter when you're trying to convince someone to do things. So whenever you do your planning, this is what we're going to talk about this weekend. Ask the question: do I just need them to know this? Do I need them to do something? If you need them to do something, you have to talk about it longer, because you have to give them the why it matters. If you just need to know something, go, hey, zone in. Here's 3 things you need to know. You just got to make sure they hear it, right? Those are the 2 different types of content. And you have to be really, really clear. A lot of, from what I found, let's call it lack of engagement in church events is because nobody knows why they should. Like, people are living lives, man. They're busy. They've got kids, or they've got school, or maybe both, and they've got a bunch of things going on. It's not that they don't want to do it. It's that they don't know why they want to do it. And so you have to help them understand why they need to do something in addition to what it is that they're doing. This is one of the most important things you've ever done. The only option people should ever have is I will or I won't. So in everything you give, you have to assume people have a limited amount of attention because they have a limited amount of attention. We're getting into how limited their attention is here in just a second. But the number one in everything you talk about, everything you say, clarity above everything else. Even if you forget to give a why, be clear about the what. You should be clear about both. But if you have to default, you have to give them what to say. I think I said this when I was up there doing a workshop. There was a gift growing up with charismatics and Pentecostals, because we just did some wild things. And I've found that if someone said from the stage, this is to be expected and this is what you should do, it didn't matter how wild it was. People would just be like, okay, I'm not going to do that, but thanks for letting me know. And it completely got rid of the communal or social anxiety that people have when something crazy happens, right? Again, we had runners, we had flags, they brought in wild animals, the whole thing, right? My favorite way to think about this is Simon Says. Don't expect people to do something until you told them, but we're playing Simon Says. Now is the time we do this. Simon Says do this. Now is the time we do this. Simon Says do this. If you're abundantly clear in what you're doing, you're only giving people 2 options. I'll do what you ask me to do. I won't do what you ask me to do. And that's the choice to make. They can decide not to do anything you ask them to do, but that's the only choice they need to be making. Is that I'm gonna do it, I'm not gonna do it. And it's our job to make everything we say that level of clarity to where those are the options. I'm going to give today, I'm not going to give today. I'm going to sing, I'm not going to sing. I'm going to stand, I'm not going to stand. That's that you have to think about it in almost a binary position in the options that you're offering. Make sense? All right, keep it moving. The most important moment is the one that people forget, which is the transition between things. Andy Stanley has a phenomenal book on preaching that I can't remember the name off the top of my head right now. Communicating for a Change. There it is. And he illustrates transitions this way. He says, everyone's in a car with you when you're either preaching, which is specifically what the book's about, but I would say any level of communication. And every single change is taking a turn. If you don't tell people we're taking a turn and you don't slow down to do it, it's like jerking the wheel at 60 miles an hour. It just freaks people out. Like, what are we doing now? Why are we taking the left? Why did we do this? That's the power of the transition. I mean, for me, even when I preach, this is the only thing I will say word for word in my manuscript. Because I manuscript out everything I preach, because I know it's that important to help people know we've moved from a thing to now we're talking about another thing, so that they can recenter their minds on where we actually are in the moment. And so there's three kind of ways to think about that. One is that when you're specifically doing the like emceeing people, you have to validate and move. So let's take, because oftentimes this will be right after worship. If you don't acknowledge the worship in the moment and you just come up and say your thing, you just jerk the wheel. Because people were here. Mm-hmm. Now you're like, back to school bash. You're like, huh? What? Right? You've got to move them, but you have to validate where they're at. You have to enter into that space with them, because you are, as we said at the top, the vibe shepherd, the mood shepherd. And the only way to do that is to walk into that scene with them, embrace all the emotion that's there, all of the feeling that's there, validate it, and then move them to the next thing, right? This is where number 2 comes in. Trust your gut, not your words. I highly, 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 highly encourage you to actually memorize your transitional statements. Highly encourage you to do that. Because you'll be in a moment, you'll know what you're, okay, so you know what you're going to say to get us to the next moment, but all of a sudden, it's just popping off now, right? It's just absolutely in the roof. We've got to move because second service is coming, right? And so you have to trust your gut to enter into that moment. Say what you need to say to validate those, what people are experiencing, to sit in that moment. But you need to know what you're going to say to get out of that, or you're going to stumble. That's just the natural way people do stuff. Because we're like, well, I had this thing I was going to say, or I had this thing I got to get to. How do I get people from there? It's that kind of thing. So trust your gut, not your words. Memorize what you're going to say to move people to the next thing, to prepare people to move on to another, to get their minds where they need to be. Lastly, is that this is the most caring thing you can do as someone who is responsible for those moments. Because it makes it not worship, not an observational moment, but a communal experience. They're not part of a program anymore. You're not part of a program anymore. You're not making them feel like they're part of a program. We are worshiping God together. I've got a responsibility to get us to the thing, but I'm not going to ignore what you're experiencing to get us to the thing. And so thinking through how you transition people from one moment to the next, from one topic to the next, from one announcement to the next, actually makes that and validates what people feel and makes it a communal experience as opposed to an observational experience, because you're guiding them and shepherding them through the entire thing. Like again, what's really funny is the tendency, the tradition or background you have tends to put you in one of two extremes. If you grew up like me, very charismatic, you're like, we'll just roll around in this moment for ages. And then the service is 25 minutes too long, right? If you come from a more traditional Presbyterian background, liturgical, you're like, we have to go. And so you just cut off the emotion. The other over here, you're just not even living it. You're just not even trying to do anything that you're supposed to do, right? And so it's living in that tension of I've got to enter into where everyone's at. Now, here's the thing. If you're actually worshiping in the room, that part's pretty easy. Like if you're actually worshiping in that moment, that part, like you're probably feeling what everyone else is feeling already. It's just having an understanding of, okay, cool. Now, how do I naturally decelerate and get us to where I've got to go? Right. So, and again, this is why I say having that, at least in your mind, a statement that's going to get you from here to there is really, really helpful, because you're training your own mind in how to feel in that moment, and you're training the congregation how to feel in that moment. I.e., one I use often is that we want to continue our worship. Oh, okay, cool. We're not changing, we're continuing. Yeah, we're continuing our worship in a insert thing. Right. How to capture attention. All right. This is why this matters so much. I'm just going to read this because it's shocking. We filter out 99.99% of our reality. The human brain filters out a such amount of information, allowing our tiny fraction, estimated as little as 0.00045% to enter our conscious perception. Every second, we are receiving 11 million bits of information from our surroundings, and we only consciously process 50. So that is a way of saying, and like scientifically proving, our brains are designed to ignore so much of everything we're getting. And it's our jobs to cut through. And there are basically 3 big buckets that I have found to cut through the brain's natural disposition to ignore. The reason it's ignoring, by the way, is because it's always looking, this gets to the first one, it's always looking for threats. We're still like, our brains are still wired for the savannah and like lions. It's like, it doesn't matter over here. I need to know when the lion's coming, right? And so there's 3 different ways to do it. First, I would say is novelty. This can be abused. I want to say that up front. Don't abuse this. It's again, I put it in quotations there. I didn't expect that. That can be a good thing. It can absolutely be abused, i.e. a camel entering in through the side door. That is novelty. It captured everyone's attention. I don't think it should have been there, right? They did it. People paid attention. I don't think it was a great use of that. But our brains actually naturally look for novelty because it's looking for the outlier, because the outlier is the thing that can actually either harm us or, on the positive side, actually increase it. Who we are as a person, be it, whatever, maybe food status, that kind of thing. And so using novelty is a really good way. You see this naturally. Like if you think about your own social media viewing habits, the things that don't fit are the ones that stop you. Like if you're just scrolling through, I've seen that before. Here's a great one. There's this woman who has a whole business on making people go viral, which you just kind of can't do. It's not something you can program for, but she does it by starting all of her videos off in a very strange way. Which is, that comes to mind, is that she was fully clothed. It was a person she was talking to. Hey, what are you doing? Just stop right there. And she's getting fully clothed into a bathtub. And you're like, why? What's happening? And I stopped. She got it. She got me. Right? It's stuff like that, right? Our brains are wired for novelty. And so how do you actually use this in a positive way? I love doing this using double negatives. The human brain pays attention to double negatives. I don't know why. Saying never not. What? Never not. Never not. Yeah, it's nice. Yeah. Like even my family, we have like a life statement, which is God is never not faithful. And we use that, but when you say it, you're like, wait. Oh, God is. Oh, I see what you did there. The novelty of a double negative caught your attention, right? So it's thinking through, what is a way of breaking the expected in a way that is life-giving and not startling, right? So don't have a person as I saw recently for a Christmas pageant, have like 6 people fly in on like zip lines, pumping out fake snow over the congregation. Novelty got people's attention. I think that's probably abusing it, to be honest with you. I think that's probably abusing it. So, cool. Second is story. All of human tradition is founded in an oral tradition. We are naturally wired for story. It's how we make sense of information. It's how we make sense of our lives. It's what captures our attention. It's why we love movies. It's why we love good books. We love the framework of telling a narrative. Some of the best preaching ever is narrative. You're like, I feel like I belong in this. I feel like we're in this together. It's this beautiful way to synthesize information that we're naturally wired for. To the point that we all actually see ourselves as in our own personal story. Like, think about it. We don't see ourselves in stages of life. We think God is telling a story through us. Like, that's why all of our scientific things would say that's absurd, and yet that's exactly how we process the world, right? And so the way of thinking is that you're saying something that people get interested and want to know where it's going. The easiest way to think about that is the formula of problem with a solution that led to an outcome. That's the simplest way to do that. What happened that's in the way? How did it get fixed, resolved? What happened on the other side? That's a story, right? That's the quickest way to pull that off. But it's a way that naturally keeps people's attention. So last is human emotion and behavior. We don't make decisions rationally. Like, all the people who say they make decisions rationally have totally negated the limbic brain. We make decisions on gut feel and then add reasons on top of them. That's just how human beings work. And it's fine, because as I said earlier, I actually think it's a better way to make decisions, because we're receiving 11 million bits of information at all times. We only consciously actually perceive 50. Doesn't mean we're not getting them. Like, intuition is the subconscious awareness of those 11 million bits of information. You ever walked into a room and be like, something's off? You're like, what's off? I don't know. Now, is that informed by your past? Is it informed by relationship? Sure. There are smells that make me not want to go places before I even understand what's happening, right? There are, it's the same thing with people. There are different, like, you can be having a conversation with a person, it's like, they were polite and kind. I don't know, right? We call that discernment, right? It's good, right? The question is, how do you use that in a positive way, human behavior, human emotion, to actually capture and keep people's attention? The framework that I think is best thought about in a interpersonal setting. So this doesn't work so much in like digital marketing. It can, or like physical marketing. It really works well when interacting with human beings, is the SCARF method, which I actually want to go through because I think it's super helpful. So SCARF was invented by a psychologist named Dr. David Roth, and it stands for status, certainty, autonomy, relatedness, and fairness. So it's this. We are constantly unconsciously reacting to either threats or validations and promotions of our status, of our certainty, of our autonomy, of our relatedness to one another, and our sense of fairness. So with status, it's our sense of relative importance in the standing compared to the others around us. A threat to this can make us feel diminished or disrespected, while the reward makes us feel like recognition and appreciation. It's the reason that when you lead with a compliment with someone, they're instantly open to you. Or far more open to you, maybe. Not totally open to you, but far more open to you when you lead with a compliment. It's why I compliment everyone I see the first time I see them. I answer the phone. What's up, handsome? How you doing, girl? How's that? Like, whatever it may be. I actually used to do this in a very novel way. I would try to think of very out there poetic ways to answer the phone. Like, so as an example with my sister, she would call, like, you oasis in a desert, how are you? Right? Just some way of complimenting someone in a way that caught their attention and warmed them to me, right? There's ways of doing this, whatever it may be. What you're trying to do there is to remove the hurdles to engaging with someone. If you start and they feel threatened in their status, they're immediately got walls up, right? We're trying to engage people. And so the first thing I try to do when I engage people in a public way is I compliment them immediately. I want them to feel how important I actually think they are. Now, this is not disingenuous for me because I think people are awesome, right? If it's disingenuous for you, that's a question between you and the Lord, right? But for me, I think people are great. And so I naturally want to compliment them and fill them with a sense of warmth and joy by elevating their status with me, right? Does that make sense? Next is certainty. People hate uncertainty. Save those of us who enjoy chaos, which is like 0.2% of the population, right? We hate uncertainty. It's just naturally built into us to hate uncertainty. This is why, and maybe the biggest reason, that being great at this matters so much. Because there are people, what is it? I thought like 30 people, 20 people were first time guests or something like that. Like whatever the number was I saw the other day on the sheet. Those people are unbelievably anxious when they show up because they don't know what to do. Everything's uncertain. The parking's uncertain. Where they take the kids is uncertain. How loud we sing is uncertain. The songs we sing is uncertain. Is Pastor Blake going to upset me today? That's uncertain. Like all these different things. And so it's our job to instill as much certainty as possible so that people feel at ease knowing what to expect. Certainty and expectations are unbelievably aligned. People, if you can tell them what to expect, they feel certain if that expectation comes through, right? So I think you do everything you can to make people certain. This is why you actually sweat the transitions, because they know what's coming up before they get there. Right? Next is autonomy. People hate when you take away their choices. And in conversations with people and leading people at large, shepherding a community at large, if they feel like you've taken away their choices, they're all of a sudden like, you're manipulating me. Because that's what it feels like. When you take away someone's choice, you've manipulated them. Or when you are trying to limit their choices, you're manipulating them into what you want. It's one of the reasons that we even approach the giving moment that way we do, is because historically, churches have tried to limit people's autonomy when it comes to giving. And instead we go, do whatever the Lord asks you to do. We never ask you to give. Do what the Lord wants you to do. That is unbelievable autonomy for them and actually makes them feel safer. Because I'm not trying to get anything out of you. I just want you to follow what the Lord wants you to do. So helping people experience as much autonomy as possible while, this is what Jesus does anyway. Jesus could have forced us to serve him. Instead, he comes and sacrifices and woos us to him and said, there's a better way over here. You do what you think you need to do. There's a better way over here. I've come for you. There's a better way over here. Right? It's this gift of freedom that we're offering people while showing them something better. We know what we want them to do. We know what they should do, but we've got to leave that choice with them. Next, relatedness and fairness. You never want to communicate in a way that separates people, separates the relational dynamic of people. You only want to communicate in a way that people feel connected, right? I think it's pretty clear. Second is, lastly, it's fairness. We have a deep sense of fairness, like it's ingrained to us even as kids. Think about how many times your kids have said, that's not fair. There's a deep sense of justice inside of all of us. And so you must communicate in a way that continues to say, this is fair and equitable. And you want to do that. And when you display a level of fairness and equity up front, it allows for people to be open to what you're saying. So, questions?
All right. Lastly, before we watch something, is take action. This one's really easy. You only get the action you ask for, that people want to do, and that they know how to do. So when you're thinking through the action you want people to take, you have to ask. You've got to help them want it, and you've got to be clear on how to do it. We do what we want when we're asked, when we know how. It's pretty clear. So you want someone to come to a small group. Cool. Let's ask them. What does that actually look like? How do we help them want it? And how do we show them what to do so they understand what they've got to do? And then we do this. This gets back to the autonomy. Then you leave the decision with them.